How fast could a luxury car travel in the 1950s without losing its refinement? Because in that decade, speed didn't belong only to racing cars. There was another kind of machine as well. Elegant grand tourers, handcrafted coupes, cars built to cross entire countries at speeds that still seemed extraordinary. Today, we're going to discover the fastest European luxury cars of the 1950s. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and get ready. Because we're starting with a Maserati that helped transform a racing brand into one of the world's great grand touring manufacturers. 1958, Maserati 3500 GT. This Maserati was born at a decisive moment. The brand had an enormous reputation on the racetrack, but it needed to prove that it could also build a car capable of crossing Europe with speed, comfort, and elegance. The result was the 3500 GT. It wasn't a radical sports car disguised for the road. It was a true grand tourer, refined, fast, and comfortable enough to cover long distances without sacrificing the racing character that defined Maserati. Its body, designed by Carrozzeria Touring, used the superleggera technique with aluminum panels over a thin tubular steel structure. This helped keep the weight at around 2,866 pounds, while the low, clean lines gave it a presence that was far more sophisticated than aggressive. But beneath that elegance was serious engineering. The 3.5-liter inline-six was derived from the engine used in the Maserati 350 S race car. With 3 Weber carburetors, it produced approximately 220 horsepower and allowed the 3500 GT to reach around 134 miles per hour. For a luxury grand tourer from the late 1950s, that was an extraordinary speed. That was precisely what made it so special. It was also a crucial model for Maserati's survival. After officially withdrawing from competition as a factory team in 1957, the brand focused its efforts on Gran Turismo automobiles. The success of the 3500 GT helped transform Maserati into a manufacturer of high-performance road cars and ease its financial difficulties. A total of 937 carbureted 3500 GTs were produced, making it a considerable success for such an exclusive brand. Today, the market value of 3500 GT coupes sits at around $187,000, although exceptional examples have exceeded $400,000 in public sales. 1959 Jaguar XK150 S. This Jaguar was proof that British luxury could also be seriously fast. The 150 arrived at the end of the decade as the most powerful evolution of the XK family. By then, Jaguar had significantly refined the formula that began with the XK120. The interior was more comfortable, the body more mature, and the car much easier to use on long journeys. But the S version hid something special. Under the hood was the famous 3.8-liter XK inline-six, fed by 3 carburetors and producing approximately 265 horsepower. It was the most powerful engine installed in a production XK and allowed the car to reach around 136 miles per hour in period testing. For the late 1950s, that was very serious performance, especially because the XK150 wasn't an uncomfortable and Spartan sports car. It could combine leather, good quality finishes, reasonable space, and a much more refined driving experience than many purely sporting cars. In addition, Jaguar already used 4-wheel disc brakes, something that reinforced its ability to maintain a high pace with much greater confidence. Visually, it was also more elegant than aggressive. The long hood, low body, and flowing lines maintained Jaguar's classic essence. But the wider windshield and more refined design made the XK150 look like a true luxury grand tourer. Today, the rare XK150 3.8 S models remain especially sought after. Recent sales have shown examples in the region of $110,000. 1958 Jensen 541R. This car is exactly the kind of machine that proves why this list couldn't be made up only of Ferraris, Maseratis, or Jaguars, because it was fast, refined, and today, it's almost forgotten. By the late 1950s, Jensen was already experimenting with unconventional materials. The 541 used a fiberglass body over a steel chassis, something highly advanced for the time that helped keep its weight down. The 541R took that formula one step further, with aerodynamic improvements, more precise steering, and disc brakes on all four wheels. Under the hood was a large 4-liter Austin inline-six. It wasn't an exotic engine like the one in a Ferrari, but it worked surprisingly well in a lightweight and aerodynamic body. The result was a top speed of nearly 125 miles per hour, an impressive figure for a 4-seat British Grand Tourer in the late 1950s. And that was its true appeal. It could offer leather, comfort, and enough space for traveling, while at the same time delivering the performance needed to cover long distances at a pace that few luxury cars could maintain. It was also extremely exclusive. Only 193 examples of the 541R were built between 1958 and 1960. Today, it remains far less valuable than many rivals with similar performance. The current market places the 541R at around $30,000 as a reference, although especially well-preserved or restored examples can reach higher figures. Before we continue, tell me in the comments, did you know about the Jensen 541R before this video? And among the 3 cars we've seen so far, would you choose the Maserati 3500 GT, the Jaguar XK150 S, or this rare Jensen? Leave your answer in the comments. 1952, Bentley R-Type Continental. This Bentley was created to do something that seemed almost contradictory in the 1950s. Travel with the luxury of a great British automobile, but at sports car speeds. The Continental was created specifically to cover long distances at high speed. Bentley developed a lighter and more aerodynamic body, built primarily from aluminum by H.J. Mulliner, with an elegant fastback silhouette that remains one of the brand's most recognizable designs today. But that shape wasn't just about beauty. It had been designed to reduce aerodynamic drag and allow 4 people, along with their luggage, to cross Europe while maintaining speeds that few luxury cars could achieve. Under the hood, it initially carried a 4.6-liter inline-six, tuned to produce around 153 horsepower. Thanks to its relatively lightweight construction and aerodynamics, it could reach approximately 115 miles per hour and maintain cruising speeds close to 100 miles per hour with extraordinary ease for 1952. In fact, Bentley considers it the car that established the formula for its future Continentals. Grand Tourers created to cover enormous distances with speed and comfort. Only 208 examples were built, and just 15 received bodies different from those produced by H.J. Mulliner. In addition, when it appeared, it wasn't only one of the fastest 4-seat automobiles in the world, it was also considered the most expensive new car in the world, with a price of £6,928, including taxes in the United Kingdom, at a time when the average British house cost less than £2,000. Today, an R-Type Continental can easily be worth anywhere from $700,000 to more than $1.5 million, depending on its bodywork, history, and condition. 1958 Ferrari 250 GT. This Ferrari wasn't created to be the most radical car from Maranello. It was created to prove that a Ferrari could also be a true luxury automobile for traveling. It represented an important step for the brand. Ferrari wanted to expand its road car production and needed a model that was more refined, comfortable, and consistent than the almost handcrafted sports cars built in extremely limited numbers. But that didn't mean giving up speed. Its body had much more understated lines than Ferrari's racing cars. The design was elegant, clean, and perfectly proportioned, while the interior offered a level of finish that, even by Ferrari's own standards, ranked among the most sophisticated of its era. It was successful enough for around 335 examples to be built, a considerable number for Maranello in the late 1950s. Under the hood was the element that kept its character completely intact: the legendary 3-liter Colombo V12. Depending on the specification, it produced around 220 to 240 horsepower, enough to take the 250 GT into the 150 miles per hour range. For a coupe designed to travel in refinement, that was extraordinary performance for the decade. And that was the true magic of the 250 GT. It didn't require its owner to sacrifice comfort in order to drive a Ferrari. It could cover long distances inside an elegant cabin, arrive at a luxury hotel without looking like a race car out of place, and still have a V12 capable of leaving almost everything else on the road behind. Today, 250 GTs remain less expensive than the rarest racing Ferraris from the 250 family, but they are far from affordable. The current benchmark market value sits at around $460,000, although especially important examples can approach or exceed much higher figures. 1953 Fiat 8V Ghia Supersonic. This car looked far too exotic to wear a Fiat badge. In the 1950s, Fiat was known primarily for small and affordable automobiles, but the 8V was an almost surreal exception. When Ghia placed its spectacular supersonic body on that chassis, one of the most striking Italian Grand Tourers of the entire decade was born. The design, created by Giovanni Savanuzzi, was directly inspired by the jet age. The long hood, steeply raked windshield, and small rear fins ending in shapes reminiscent of jet engines made the car look as though it had come from the future. But it wasn't just about appearance. Under that body was a compact 2-liter V8, built from lightweight alloy and capable of producing around 110 horsepower, paired with a 4-speed manual transmission and independent suspension on all 4 wheels. That may seem modest compared to Ferrari or Maserati, but the 8V was lightweight, sophisticated, and fast enough to place Fiat in a territory where practically no one expected to see it. And the supersonic version was even more exclusive. Depending on the source and the criteria used, around 14 or 15 examples are recognized as having been built with this body, out of a total production of just 114 Fiat 8Vs. That also explains its current value. Examples of the Fiat 8V Supersonic have recently sold for more than $2 million, including one that reached $2.425 million in New York. Before we continue, tell me in the comments, did you know about this Fiat before this video? And among the cars we've already seen, would you choose the elegance of the Ferrari 250 GT, the exclusivity of the Bentley R-Type Continental, or this strange and futuristic Fiat 8V Supersonic? Leave your answer in the comments. 1956 Talbot-Lago T14 LS. This car was born when one of France's great marques was fighting to survive. For decades, Talbot-Lago had built some of the most exclusive and fastest automobiles in France. But after the war, high taxes on large engines and the decline of the handcrafted luxury car market left the company in an increasingly difficult position. The T14 LS was its attempt to adapt. More compact than the enormous Talbots that came before it, it had an elegant body designed by Carlo Deleuze of Les Tourneurs et Marchands, with a long hood, a low cabin, and the proportions of a true French Grand Tourer. Under the hood was a sophisticated 2.5-liter, 4-cylinder engine, with dual overhead camshafts and approximately 120 horsepower, paired with a 4-speed manual transmission. That allowed it to reach around 112 miles per hour. And above all, it offered something very different: the ability to travel fast inside one of the last automobiles built by a marque that still preserved the tradition of great pre-war French luxury. The true exclusivity was in the numbers. Only 54 examples of the T14 were built, making one far more difficult to find today than many Ferraris, Jaguars, or Maseratis from the same decade. And that rarity is also reflected in its value. A 1956 example sold for $260,400 in March 2026, while other examples have been listed for more than $400,000, depending on their version, history, and condition. 1955 Lancia Aurelia B20 GT. This Lancia didn't need a huge engine to be fast. Its advantage was intelligence. The Aurelia was one of the automobiles that helped define the modern idea of the Gran Turismo. An elegant coupe, comfortable over long distances, and, at the same time, fast enough to compete seriously. Lancia even presented the B20 as a new type of 2+2 Grand Tourer when it appeared in 1951. And it wasn't just a marketing strategy. In its competitive debut, an Aurelia B20 finished second overall in the 1951 Mille Miglia, behind a Ferrari with more than twice the engine displacement. For a practically production-spec automobile, it was an extraordinary demonstration of balance, lightness, and efficiency. Its body was clean, understated, and sophisticated. The interior offered enough comfort to travel for hours, and its dynamic behavior made winding roads feel just as natural as a long highway. Today, values vary considerably depending on the series, history, and condition. A good B20 GT can be worth approximately $120,000 to $250,000, while special or exceptionally well-preserved examples can greatly exceed those figures. A 1953 example was recently listed for €535,000. 1953 Bristol 404. This car was created for a very specific type of buyer, someone who needed to travel fast for business, but considered a traditional sports car too uncomfortable and flashy. That is why Bristol called it the businessman's express. And few phrases better summarize the philosophy of the Bristol 404. The company came directly from the aviation industry, and that obsession with engineering was reflected throughout the entire automobile. It used a shorter chassis than previous Bristols, a lightweight body, and a carefully aerodynamic shape, with a large front air intake that directly recalled the company's aircraft designs. Inside, however, there was nothing Spartan about it. There was leather, wood, carefully arranged instruments, and enough refinement to travel hundreds of miles without fatigue. Even the spare wheel and battery were hidden in separate compartments behind the front fenders, freeing up space for luggage. It was an unusual solution, but very Bristol. Under the hood was a sophisticated 2-liter inline-six engine, originally derived from the engineering of the BMW 328. In the more powerful versions, it could produce around 125 horsepower, a modest figure on paper, but enough in a lightweight and aerodynamic automobile. Its top speed was around 110 miles per hour in road specifications, while variants with the more powerful engine could offer even greater performance. And it was extremely exclusive. Only 52 units were built, making the 404 one of the rarest British Grand Tourers of the entire decade. And in the end, these cars proved that in the 1950s, true luxury did not always mean traveling slowly. Some European manufacturers understood that certain buyers wanted comfort, exclusivity, and elegance, but they also wanted to arrive before everyone else. Now, I want to know your opinion. Which of these European luxury cars would you choose to cross the continent at full speed? Let me know in the comments. And if you want to discover just how much it could cost to access the most exclusive level of European motoring during that same decade, watch our video about the most expensive European cars of the 1950s. Because some were fast, others were luxurious, but the most exclusive ones could cost an absolute fortune. See you in the next video.